Hello and welcome to Sneak Peek Critiques from the Writer's Nexus. This is Renee Robbins. Sneak Peek Critiques are all about the first 8 lines of any book or story. An editor or literary agent will tell you that they usually know within the first 8 lines whether they want to continue reading a manuscript or not. So that's why I think it's so important to look at best-selling books and look at their first 8 lines and see how successful authors perform their craft. Today we will be looking at Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. It's a psychological thriller and a New York Times #1 bestseller. First sentence. April 9th and 10th, 2009. Augie Odenkirk had a 1997 Datsun that still ran well in spite of high mileage, but gas was expensive, especially for a man with no job, and city center was on the far side of town, so he decided to take the last bus of the night. Okay, this is a pretty long opening sentence. It has a lot of commas in it, but Stephen King gives us a lot of information in this first line. He's named the main character, and we know that Augie drives a 12-year-old Datsun. That says a lot about the driver. It's a foreign car, and it gets good gas mileage. He also does not have a job, so he takes the bus to get to the other side of town. So this suggests that Augie is definitely struggling externally with his finances, but also struggling internally, more likely, because it's not always it's not a comfortable position to be in. And then lastly, they mention city center. We don't know exactly which city center it is, but it does sound like a large complex with some type of event that somebody like Augie would be interested in going to. So far, this is a lot of information. It keeps the reader interested. I think it's important to note that a lot of self-published authors need to understand how important it is to continually give the reader information about the characters and the plot. This is especially important up front, but this needs to continually happen throughout the story. It's how a reader is continually pulled into the story, giving them fresh, new information, finding out a little bit more about the characters and where they're going. Otherwise, there's no reason to continue reading. Second sentence. He got off at 20 past 11 with his pack on his back and his rolled-up sleeping bag under arm. Okay, this is very specific. 20 past 11. That's not random. And the fact that Augie is carrying a pack on his back and a rolled-up sleeping bag, and he's going to stay in line waiting for tickets to a concert or something. So this sounds interesting. So let's continue. Third sentence. He thought he would be glad of the down-filled bag by 3 a.m. Okay, so Augie is sleeping outside and presumably near city center for the night. We don't know why yet, but it still is interesting, so we will continue on. Fourth sentence. The night was misty and chill. All right, this is now the fourth sentence, and you can see how the length of the sentences are dramatically different. The very first one was nearly run on, separated by quite a few commas, and now we've got literally a 6-word sentence, just 4 lines in. This is another best-selling author trick or technique, if you want to call it that. It actually creates a certain rhythm and tension. It does keep the reader on their toes, so to speak, with varying lengths of sentences, so that's a great thing to use in your writing. It's also very definitely at night, so that's now confirmed. So let's move on. Fifth sentence. Good luck, man, the driver said as he stepped down. So that suggests Augie has had a conversation with the driver of the bus. It's like he may or may not get something at this event that he's sleeping over for. But also knowing Stephen King, he's got a long history. His style is horror and gore and psychic stuff and ghost stuff, which is all really cool. We're now starting to get maybe a little bit worried about Augie. Let's move on. Sentence number 6. You ought to get something for just being the first one there. Okay, so that's the bus driver again. It's kind of cute. They've obviously built some type of rapport. Now we're wondering what's going on at City Center because he should be rewarded for being the first one there, for being so eager. We're already starting to like Augie because this complete stranger is encouraging him. This is a great way to draw your reader into your hero or main character Even though we don't know what the conversation is, the bus driver is now wishing him well. The bus driver has actually decided that he likes Augie. Let's move on. The 7th sentence. Only he wasn't. All right. So the plot thickens, and we're only 7 sentences in. It's very dramatic. 3 simple words, and it throws everything on its head. So there's a lot more going on here. So let's continue. Sentence number 8. When Augie reached the top of the wide, steep drive leading to the big auditorium, he saw a cluster of at least 24 people already waiting outside the rank of doors, some standing, most sitting. All right, so here we go. This is another long sentence. It gives you a good idea that other people are very eager as well at close to midnight to get into city center for whatever reason. So the burning question is, does the reader want to keep reading? And my answer is absolutely yes. And in fact, I have read Mr. Mercedes. I really enjoyed this book. I won't spoil the book for you, but it's definitely well worth a read. Stephen King is not afraid to tackle certain subjects, and I find he's got a very clear, interesting, and complex voice through his characters. So this has been another edition of Sneak Peek Critiques from the Writer's Nexus. We have been looking at the first 8 lines of Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. I wish you many imaginative tales.